Pengen turu arek iki. Sumpah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Hello everyone. Welcome to
Hai.
EDUChat podcast. Inspiring mind, one chat at a time.
Yeay.
Okay, so hello everyone. It's me, Mutiara. Here, I'm not alone today. I have two amazing friends, Maila and Rahma. Okay, and joining with me, we are super excited to talk about how education in Indonesia compares to other countries. And today we are going to discuss how Indonesia's education system is different from countries like US, Japan, or those in Europe, especially in terms of learning style, classroom culture, and what we can actually learn from them. For example, in Finland, if I'm not mistaken, students only spend about 5 hours at school uh, each day. Yeah, their educational system is bad. Even though they are only just 5 hours in a day, but Finland is the one of the best in the one of the best educational system in the world. Okay, so when it comes to studying abroad, which country pops in your mind as having the coolest educational system? Let me start with my love first.
Oh well, if someone asks me which country that has the good educational system, I will answer Poland because Poland is yeah they has as everyone knows that Poland has a really good educational system. They don't even have a homework, but they their hours is just for 5 hours for learning.
Okay, then now let me move to Rahma.
Okay, so if we're talking about the education system in other countries, I think Singapore really have impressive education system.
Mm.
I mean, like they focuses on developing human resources, and I think that when the government realized that if the people is well educated, then foreign investor will be more interested in opening business there and hiring local workers so that the numbers of unemployment will be reduced like that.
Mm. Okay, I see. So that makes sense. So I think a lot of people feel the same way. Speaking about that, and why do you think so many Indonesian dream of studying overseas? Now let me start with Rama first.
Okay, as I mentioned before, many people see other countries, especially maybe like Finland, USA, or Singapore, they have a really impressive or good education system. Like, for instance, Singapore keeps improving its education quality. For example, like salary were raised, but the selection process for becoming a teacher is very strict. Like only the top 50% of graduates can apply to be teachers, and they believe that if the teachers is high quality, then the students will be too. And the result really shows, like according to the Program for International Student Assessments, or PICA, by OECD, the Singaporean consistently ranks in the top 5 countries for education performance, and often ranked first in math and science. So it's not a surprise that many Indonesians want to study abroad. They see examples like Singapore, and where the strong government support for education will create high quality human resources and drive national progress.
Okay, so I think maybe it's because the government support for the educational creates and high quality human resources, and so it makes drive national progress. And then I'm curious about my last opinion. What about your opinion? Why Indonesians students dream to go to overseas?
Well, I totally agree with Rahma's statement that Singapore's education system is an inspiring example. It shows how strong government support can really change the quality of education. But in my opinion, many Indonesian dreams of studying abroad not because of the system itself, but also because they are looking for something different, like a new experience and a new challenges. So studying abroad give people the chance to explore different ways thinking, like different culture, different lifestyle. So that kind of things can help us to open our mind. Then I also think that some people just want to escape from Indonesian limitation, like kabur aja dulu, ya. Then they often feel, for example, the learning process in Indonesia's a little bit uh, bored. Like they focus on memorization and grades. They not focus on the creativity or critical thinking. So when they see how the system of some university in abroad, like discussion, innovation, research, so they becomes it becomes something they really want to experience. And I think there is also a bit prestigious involved. Like some people want to study abroad because they want to give they because of it gives them pride, like, wow guys, I made it, I study here. Then after they back to abroad, some people will respect to them, like if you guys study abroad, then you come back to Indonesia, some people will feel apa ya, like, wow, you're so cool, like that. What do you think?
Okay, so based on my last opinion, that many people want to go overseas is because they want to something new, like how the teachers uh, teach them, and then about the activity at the classroom, and especially and the pride as well. Okay, and then now let me move to actually that's really interesting comparison about uh, educational works in different country, but you know that education is just about isn't just about system, right, or facilities. It's also about um, mindset, and then about and how students think, how they express themselves, and how open they are to the new ideas. Because in some countries students are encouraged to questioning something and share their opinion freely. But in others, they might not always be the case. Because as we know that when we talk about our ideas, some teachers like, that's not true. The the true one is like this. So because the teachers teach the students about what they know, when the students have their new idea, like, no, that's wrong. The right one is this one, right? So So let's talk about freedom or expression and critical thinking. What do you guys think about that? How is it different between Indonesia and others country? Now, let me start with Rahma first. Is it okay?
Okay, so that's a really great topic actually. In many countries like maybe USA, England, Finland, or even Singapore, students are encouraged to express their thoughts freely and think critically during class. Like they're taught that it is okay to have a different opinions from their teachers or friends as long as they can explain their reasons and support them with evidence. Like if I can add my own experiences, like in class I like to asking a question, and I remember that there's one time when I asked a question for my friends. It's about religions and beliefs, and everyone have different opinions. Me too. I have different opinions about religion and beliefs, but when it comes to that case, when I questioning it, the responses of the class it's not really, I could say, like welcoming. It's like they questioning my questions. You know what I mean? Like I mean, like um, the responses from the people when we asking something so contradictions with our prior knowledge. Usually, the responses is not that welcoming in my experience in Indonesia. But if I saw some countries like American, like Europe or like that, usually they're more open with it. But there is also a case. Did you know Charlie Kirk, like the one who's get shot in the head? I'm sorry. Now he's dead. Like he's a um, active narrator, and he has some certain belief that he actively sharing with other people's, and there's a lot of people who dislike him, and then suddenly one day he got shot by a gun. And that is also when I think that freely speaking or freely to be critical thinking, it's not always in some part of countries. Like if we see Europe or USA, they also have some kind of extreme reactions of when people talking about different opinions like that. So, but if we're talking in classroom or educational system, I think USA or Europe is more advanced in accepting different opinions or critical thinkings rather than Indonesia. That is my opinion.
Okay. Okay, that's really great opinions. And now let me ask Maila about the opinion about freedom of expression and critical thinking in Indonesia and others countries.
Well, I think in Indonesia, students actually have a lot of opinions and ideas, but they don't always feel free to express them, especially in the class. Many of them still worry about being judged or corrected, so they prefer to stay quiet. So, one reason is because our education system is still very teacher centered. So the teacher explains, student listen, then take notes and memorize. So the focus is often on getting the right answer, not really on the understanding the process or why behind it. For example, if a student give a different opinion approach, sometimes it seems as being too bold or even disrespectful. So students just learn to follow instead of exploring ideas, like Rahma explained before. Meanwhile, in many other countries like Finland or the US, the learning process is student centered. So students are encouraged to ask questions, discuss, and even disagree politely. Then the teacher will ask like, Why do you think so? Can you explain your answer? Like actually, Rahma has mentioned before, and then the student uh, can explain why behind it. Then I remember seeing an example how they teach math. So in Indonesia, we usually focus on the formula, solving the formula, like just find the answer. Like teacher give patterns, then answer it. But in other countries, students also learn about the concept behind the numbers. For example, they even discuss where the number zero come from. So who invited it and why it's so important in math. So instead of just memorizing they understand the story and logic behind what they learn.
Mm.
So the kind of approach really builds critical thinking because students see knowledge as something to explore, not just something copy. Yeah, I think that's because uh, we learned math right since we were in a junior high school, but we just learned the pattern. We never use it in our daily life, like physics. We learn how to count energy, but we never use it in the reality. We never understand. We just know the formula. So, I think that's the reason why the other countries the educational system higher than us because how teacher teach is different. Like we just memorizing and they learn how to solve that problem like that.
Okay, that's really great opinion. Actually, I wondering that, like Rahma said in the early, like in the Singapore, they encourage the human resources of the teacher. Uh, maybe it can change our educational system, right? Okay. We have talked about opinion about educational system. So now, let me move to another interesting aspect. It's discipline and learning culture. Because we know that in some countries, students are known for being very independent and responsible. Like in Korea, they learn from 9 till 5, but they continue independent study. Yeah, so, how about it? What do you think about the differences in learning culture between Indonesian students and uh, overseas students? Now, let me start with Maila. Would you please unmute first, Maila?
Okay, so the cultures. Well, I think in Indonesia, students are actually hardworking, but our discipline often depends on external factor,
Mm,
like rules from school or reminders from teachers and parents. So the student always waiting for the rules, not because of their responsibility. And it also related to our learning culture since we were kids. We are taught to follow instruction and respect authority. That's good, but sometimes it makes students less used to managing their own learning or time. For example, in the countries like Japan or Korea, students clean their classroom together and organize everything themselves. But in Indonesia, we actually have picket class too, which is good habit, but usually it's done because of school rules, not because students' personality. Like it's not because of they want, and it's like responsible for keeping the class clean. So it's because the rule, and some people, sometimes some students do not do picket too, and yeah, I think Uh, that's it.
Oh, maybe it's just they do it because of the rule, not their sense
Mm.
of responsibility. Okay, that makes sense actually. Then now let, let's hear about Rahma opinions. What about you, Rahma?
Okay, so yeah, that's really true. Like in many developed countries,
Mhm,
like in many developed countries, like about disciplines and self-directed learning is really the main problem or the main problem in Indonesia. Like if I can deliver my experience,
mhm,
we everyone experienced COVID-19.
mhm,
Like everyone experienced it, like right.
mhm,
And when it happens, I was in high school, which is in my second years, and the first like the first shock that I got when COVID happens is like the change or the switch of learning process. Like everything has to be online. Everything we cannot interact with teachers, with friends. We cannot have discussions. Well, there are still like Google Classrooms or Zoom, but still, it's not really effective, does it? And when that happens, I was like so stressed because, yeah, like Myla said, I was so rely on the teacher's guidance and parents' guidance,
mhm,
but not in myself directions. And because of that, when I lost a real interaction with teachers and friends, I was so stressed and I could not understand a single materials.
mhm,
But yeah, but then I survived. But then I
mhm,
still got into the class. But that is like quote unquote culture shock, if I can say, like because from the start I really rely on the teacher sources, and then when COVID happens, um, I have to rely on myself in study and discipline like that. So yeah, that's really true from my last opinions, and I agree with that.
Okay, that's really interesting opinion. Okay, but before we continue, hello, excuse me, Anissa Icha. Could you please mute first? Because we actually have serious conversation here. Excuse me, Anissa Icha. Are you there? Are you? Am I audible to you? Okay, maybe he's out of keyboard. So let's continue to the question and your personal opinion. Uh, if you had chance for Milo and Rahma, if you had chance to study overseas, what would you really want to learn from their educational system? And the other hand, what would you think we could improve in Indonesia? Uh, yeah. So I think let me start with Rahma. What about you, Rahma?
Okay, okay. So if I had a chance to study abroad, I really want to learn like how they encourage, how they boost creativity and critical thinking in classroom. I mean, like once I saw in like YouTube video, the environment of, for example, in USA classroom, they're just so the engagement is so high, and they just really want to be engaged in the learning process. And also, students give the freedom to explore their interests and apply what they learn in real life projects. And I think that kind of learning will make education feel more meaningful. When we know what we learn, when we know what we're doing, and when we know what the purpose we're doing this, everything becomes more meaningful. And actually, I once planned to continue my undergraduate studies or like student exchange program in the USA, but unfortunately it didn't happen back then. So yeah, I did a lot of research about their education system, and from that I realized that there are so many good things that we can learn and adapt here in Indonesia, even without studying abroad. Like, for example, we could improve how to teach students to express their ideas confidently without judging them, or even how we connect lessons to the real world problem instead of just focusing on exams. If we could be that kind of mindset, I
Mhm.
think our education system would be even stronger.
Mhm. Oh, okay, that's really great reason and really great country. So yeah, now let me move to Maila. I'm curious about Maila opinion. Which country will she choose and why? Okay, come on, Maila.
Okay,
Mhm.
if you ask me which country did I choose, I will choose Edinburgh, and actually the reason is not because the educational system, but actually it's because of my dream. Like, when I see Edinburgh, there are so many castles there, and when I see that castle, I will remember of the Barbie movie that I watched when I was kid. So I want to um, I want to face it. I want to face the castle because I want to see how how beautiful the castle,
Mhm.
like in a movie that I watch.
Mhm.
And yeah, I also like how the education in Edinburgh, like it focuses on exploring the ideas deeply and connect them to real world issues. And it's not just about what you learn, but also about how you think and question things. But yeah, the main reason is I want to see the castle.
So can you please mention maybe what we can learn from that country that can improve in Indonesian educational system, Myla?
Mm, I love their education system is so student centered because they aren't pressured by too many exams,
Mm-hmm.
but they still manage to perform really well because they enjoy learning, and teachers are trusted professional, and students are encouraged to be independent, creative, and responsible.
Yeah, that's really meaningful for everyone. So we are in the end of this podcast. So from today's conversation, we can conclude that every educational system has its own strengths and weakness. What really matters in how we keep learning and growing from anywhere and anyone. If you have experiences studying abroad or thoughts about Indonesia education system, feel free to share them in the comments. So thank you very much for listening to our podcast. Don't forget to following the EduChat podcast so you won't missing our exciting podcast. EduChat Podcast, inspiring minds, one chat at a time. See you next time, guys. Bye.